Hi, this is your host Shane with Radical Rocks. On July 9th, Bridger Walker, 6-year-old young man, bravely stood between his sister and an attacking dog and really ended up getting mauled to a large extent. Had his face all tore up and everything. And when he was interviewed, they asked him, why he did it, and he just said something to the effect of, he didn't want anything to happen to his sister. And also in the article that I read, it mentioned that he was a rock hound. So on our podcast that we put out Friday night, we mentioned this young man, Bridger Walker, and gave his post office address and his his name and his post office address, because his mother said that they didn't want anything except to donate to the wounded soldier, and that he wanted pictures of rocks. So I thought, you know what, I represent a pretty good group of rock hounds. I would put it out there and see if anybody would want to be a part of that. And also, we went through our collection. Even though my collection is really packed up right now, I tried to just get some stuff off the top and find a few things for Bridger. So this video today is going to be dedicated to our little hero, Bridger Walker, and a great example to all brothers and sisters out there to stand up for what's right. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a few rocks. Now, most of them are just kind of rough, and I'm kind of slumming it today. But the first one we've got for you, Bridger, is agate. And it was a geode, and this is half of it. It's a pretty good size one, and we're going to send this off to you and have my dog is drinking the water I was going to use to shine some of these up with. But anyway, this is a really nice agate with a little tiny baby geode hole in it, and I've actually cut this one and done halfway decent polish job on it. So we'll wrap that up, put it in a little box, and send it on its way Monday sometime, hopefully. I'll check with my wife. Now, agate is real hard. On the hardness scale, it's a 7. I'm not going to scratch this one, but if you have a little pocket knife, you can just scratch one little edge of it, and the knife is about, this is pretty hard steel here. It's about 6 on the hardness scale. Some are only like 5.5 or 6. And that will leave the metal of the knife like a little silver streak if it's harder than the knife. If it's not harder than the knife, then you're going to get a scratch, and it's going to be the mineral itself being scratched, and you'll know that it's not as hard as the knife, and that will help you identify it. So another fun rock, this is a piece of petrified wood, and it's a little dusty piece. I don't know, let's see what it looks like when we get it wet and see if it's got any. It's got a little bit of agate in it. Whether it would be something worth polishing or not, I don't know. I mean, this side looks pretty good here, so that's an indication. This side's pretty rough. Looks like it's been in the sun for a few hundred years, maybe 400 or 500 years, because it's kind of got that desert varnish on it. So we're going to send that little piece of petrified wood. This was once a tree, and all the little cells were replaced with silica and agate material, and you can still see the wood grain on it and everything right there. So that'll be one for your collection there. This was collected in California. I've gotten these things at various places. Now you're going to have to join a rock club now that you're a full-fledged rock hound, and this one I got from Wiley Wells. Kind of looks like a, I don't know, it kind of looks like a little pig head. It's got some ears and a little face there. Maybe it could be a cat, if you use your imagination, the shape of it. But these lines here are how the agate material, this was a rhyolite void. It was volcanic. You can see the volcanic bubbles on it there. And this would have, probably spurted out of the volcano in these big spurts and eruptions. And then the empty cavities were able to fill with this agate material, and as different layers of minerals were in there, it created these layers that you see here. I would say, by the way the flow is on these, that there was a lot of movement going on as those settled. Sometimes you'll see these really straight lines, but here you see some flowing, so that could be an indication of what was happening to the earth or to the flow of the material as it filled up these spaces here. So you'll have to get down to the shop and polish this up. Join your local rock hound. Now this one here, it looks like a piece of chalcedony to me. It's got some little layers in it. And you can see the edge here. It looks to me like several hundred years ago, somebody out there living off the land, Native American, probably thought about making this into an arrowhead, but it didn't make it. It's just got this rough, chipped kind of edge on it. But it could be just kept this way as it is, or you could do something else with it, maybe make a pennant out of it, or I would just keep it like this though, because that's pretty cool that it used to be, that that somebody was going to actually use this as a tool. So that's again, that's hard on the hardness scale. Now here's something's kind of cool. This is volcanic glass, and you can see it's kind of clear. I don't know, the sun's showing through it pretty good. Maybe it'll show in there. Volcanic glass from a volcano. It's called Obsidian. And sometimes when it would shoot out, it would string, and it would kind of start to cool as it would shoot out in these strings, and you would get these needles. Or it might break up into pieces, and then the pieces roll down. That could also cause these needles. So there's different ways that they're caused. Most likely it was just big pieces, and they cracked in a bunch of little thin pieces, and then they started rolling down. Some of them are worn pretty smooth. This one's pretty hacky, so that's why I'm definitely saying this one was probably a large piece that cracked up into several smaller pieces because it has such straight edges on it. So this would be called an obsidian needle. I dropped it, but it's still in one piece. We'll send that on to you too. Everything I'm showing you today, we're going to send to you. This one, I was up in a little town out by Lovick. You can see the green there. That's actually fluorite. And fluorite should glow under an ultraviolet light. You can make jewelry out of fluorite, but it's pretty soft. I wouldn't advise it. This is just a nice mineral piece. We'll get it wet here. I actually chiseled this right out of an old abandoned mine up there. And it's kind of cool. Kind of cool. Green color. Very common color for fluorite is green. See a lot of that out here in some of the California deserts. Now a lot of this stuff is volcanic that I'm showing you today because I thought it was interesting. I thought it was stuff that you might like. This one here is a chalcedony rose. And this one's actually got some pink on it. This is a pretty nice one. I almost didn't want to let go of it, but I thought this is a good example, and it was right there on top so I could find it, find it, And you can see that it was a bubbling type splatter, that kind of landed, and it formed this shape here. You can just think of that hot, molten chalcedony material glowing red and blurping out of the volcano in these spurts, and landing on the ground and then cooling. And you can still see the dirt on the back, how it's, when it landed, it kind of melted and ended up in it. So this is a real pretty one with a little bit of a pink hue to it, which out where I found this was out by Wiley Wells, and east of Wiley Wells. There's an area out there very close to a site where you can pay to, or used to be able to pay to mine fire agate. There's fire agate out there, so that's kind of neat. We're going to send that along. This is a real common piece of red jasper, and I'm running out of sunlight here, darn it. I was going to try to get this done before the sun got away from me, but hopefully you can see that. Now you can see this piece too. Looks like there was somebody getting ready to chisel an arrowhead. There's the inner space. Looks like it didn't go right, so the Native American that was working on this probably threw it aside. This is also found in the Lovick area. There's a lot of real nice jasper out there. This has a real nice pattern to it. It almost, you know, doesn't even need polishing. It's so pretty and polished. All right, let's see. We got a few more here. We showed you the obsidian, which was the glass from the volcano. Sometimes that stuff comes with little spots, little white spots, and that's called a snowflake obsidian. Okay, that's a little tiny piece there. I've got a bigger piece too I'm going to send along with you. This one's kind of somewhat polished a little bit. Just to see what it looks like. It's polished on this side. This side's kind of rough here, but you know, you can just stand it up and somewhere as a nice little piece, or you can make a piece of jewelry out of it, you know, for your mom or your sister or something. Okay, those are going along with you as well. This, I shouldn't have got it wet. This is just a little piece of chrysocolla. Not sure where it's from. I think that came from the Copper World area, which is out north of the 10, real close to Arizona borderline there. And here is another piece of obsidian. Now this obsidian, you can see, has some brown in it, and they call it, when it has the brown, they call it mahogany. So it's kind of pretty, gives it a little variation, a little different shape. And this stuff can be sharp on the edges. This one's not really sharp, but if you drop it, it can get pretty sharp, the edges. So, you know, be careful with that. But I'm sure you'll do fine. Now, the last piece that I have for you, Mr. Bridgeton, is this is called a concretion, and it looks pretty boring. Just a little piece of sand. But some people really like these. They're kind of interesting. I have a few. And the way they say this started out was, and it could have been many different ways, but one story I heard was, you know, a little piece of sand starts rolling along, and then another one sticks to it, and another one sticks to it, and then these would roll around the desert and just get bigger and bigger. That's the fun way to think about it. I like to think about it that way. But, you know, it could have also been compressed underground and then broke up and then finally been released and rolled around like this. But sometimes you will find these just sitting right on top of the ground like that. And that's why the story is that they formed on the desert and rolled around. In some areas where there's a lot of types of material that will cement the minerals together, that actually does happen, where the minerals will actually roll and create these concretions of minerals. So, young Mr. Walker, I hope you enjoy these. I'll have my wife send these off probably Monday or Tuesday. And for all, hopefully you'll be watching our channel now and being a part of our podcast and our blogs, and maybe watch our videos and maybe show us some of the things that you do. Show us some of your rocks and share your collection with us. We'd love to do an interview with you or anything like that. If you're interested in that, that's fine. If not, I totally understand. Who wants to be in the limelight all the time? That could be a pain, right? But it could be fun too, and it could be a fun time in your life. And you could use it for a lot of good too. So with that, just want to encourage everyone to look at our blogs. They're located at radicalrocksusa.blogspot.com. And also we have a MeWe site. We've got a Facebook group. We've got, of course, these YouTube videos. And our podcasts are doing really well. We're getting close to almost some 3,000 views, and we've only been doing it a few months, so we're pretty proud of how quickly everything's been growing. We've got well over 1,300 members in some of our groups, and that's about it, guys. Remember, rockhounds don't die, they petrify.